order you like.
You should start. I'll start.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hosting this hearing. My name is Meg Bandarra, and I'm the founder of Unpaved Trails For All, which advocates for more accessible unpaved trails. I'm here to speak in favor of S446 and H769, an act expanding access to trails for people of all abilities. For those of us with disabling conditions, access to nature is extremely limited, but it's not only folks with disabling conditions that need accessible trails. Seniors and people with young children do too. Together, these three groups account for 33 to 47% of our state's population. Unfortunately, our trail system does not reflect these numbers. In our state parks, there are approximately 4,000 miles of unpaved trails, but only 7.5 miles are accessible. Just 7.5 miles for 33 to 47% of people. Aside from the accessible nature trails being too few and far between, information about existing trails is insufficient, making them difficult, if not impossible, to find. Widely held misunderstandings about what accessible trails can and should be frequently result in spaces that are actually inaccessible or offer low-quality experiences. I'm a member of the Massachusetts Recreational Trail Advisory Board, which reviews Mass Trails grants. And in my experience there, it tells me that in order to make a more inclusive trail system, we need to improve how we approach funding accessible trails. I advocate for unpaved accessible trails because they've truly changed my life. But I'm also doing this because studies show that the more natural a space feels, the more stress relief we experience when spending time there. And that's important for folks with limited mobility because we experience more stress-related illnesses than our non-mobility limited peers. And it's not just natural surface trails that are needed. Accessibility on our paved shared use paths can be improved, and I'm not aware of any water trails in our state that have accessible features. Accessible trails aren't a luxury, they're a necessity. A key component to living a healthier, well-rounded life. Increasing accessibility on trails promotes well-being, furthers equity, environmental justice, and civil rights. Trails also offer economic benefits, particularly when they are inclusive of everyone. Disability commissions across the state are in favor of this bill. Municipalities have passed resolutions, and there is support from recreation groups, land trusts, healthcare professionals, and environmental groups. We have a petition with over 350 signatures asking the DCR to increase accessible trails. All these folks recognize that change is needed, and the first step is to evaluate our trail system input from those who need these changes the most, which is exactly what this bill proposes. I really hope that you pass it and that you give it a favorable report, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Chair Rouse, Chair Cahill, and members of the committee, thank you for allowing us to speak today regarding an act expanding access to trails for people of all abilities, or S446 and H769. My name is Rae Ettenger, and I am the New England Conservation Policy Specialist with the Appalachian Mountain Club. AMC is the nation's oldest conservation, recreation, and education organization. We strongly support natural resource conservation while encouraging all people to engage in outdoor recreation. This is based on our overarching philosophy that successful long-term conservation depends on all people's active engagement with the outdoors. Additionally, AMC leads thousands of people each year in outdoor recreation activities and maintains over 1,800 miles of trails, including over 400 miles here in Massachusetts. Additionally, AMC's professional trail crews have designed and built all-persons natural surface trails for decades, learning and applying standards and best practices with recent projects just this year in both Massachusetts and New Hampshire. AMC is also honing assessment practices with a recent assessment for accessibility and equity on a portion of the Highlands Trail in Pennsylvania. We are speaking here today because of our organization's expertise in trail design and maintenance and our commitment to increasing outdoor recreation opportunities for all community members. AMC strongly supports this legislation that would ultimately expand access to nature trails for people of all abilities in Massachusetts. Our hands-on experience with accessible trail design has led us to several key challenges that this working group would help solve. Accessible trail design can be more challenging and costly than a traditional trail design. It is a large undertaking to assess the accessibility of many miles of trails and identify new accessibility opportunities. This working group's assessment will help inform the Commonwealth, including the Mass Trails program, of the appropriate funding needed to improve accessibility. Additionally, this working group should strive to centralize, consolidate, and simplify accessible trail and accessible recreational area resources and standards. This resource would be invaluable to both the Conservation Corps and contractors that build all-persons trails in Massachusetts. Thank you for hearing our comments today in support of this legislation. Accessible trails would benefit all residents of Massachusetts by providing access to nature for mobility impaired trail users, the elderly, parents with strollers, and people with blindness or low vision. Establishing this working group would expand accessibility on paved and unpaved trails in Massachusetts and would position the Commonwealth as a national leader in supporting the design and creation of all-person trails. We encourage members to report favorably on this legislation, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Do we have other members of this panel before we see if we have any questions? Okay.
Hi, can I speak?
Absolutely.
Thanks. This is Amy Sugihara from Northampton. I can speak on the impact this bill will have because I use a mobility device to access unpaved accessible trails, and currently there are very few of them. People must use soft surface accessible trails for a variety of reasons. It could be due to low vision, joint pain, head injury, pushing a stroller, or mobility difficulties. There are many of us, each with a different story. Some of us have not been able to use hiking trails our whole lives, and some of us experience disabling events or disease that cause us to lose access to trails. I developed a disease that has slowly caused loss of mobility. I was able-bodied, active, hiking, backpacking, and truly oblivious to the ease. As the disability progressed, my world closed in and my activities shrunk to fit what was possible. I didn't think hiking was possible anymore. I'd never even heard of accessible trails. My connection to nature, once a deep well of joy, was no longer at my disposal. I had to find new ways to cope with stress, the stress of having a chronic illness, as well as everyday general life stress. And then suddenly I discovered accessible trails and off-road wheelchairs exist. People with walking disabilities actually get out on trails. To be amongst the trees again was amazing. I felt energized, joyful, calm, soothed, and able. For me, getting back on a trail in a way that felt doable unlocked something and made me feel capable, like I had agency again. That sense of freedom, of fully living, spills over into everyday life. It's not just an outing. It's the agency of doing and being in the world in a way that energizes. It contributes to a life well lived. It is profound. It feels good to be in nature on unpaved trails, and it feels different than being on pavement. So naturally, it's important that everyone is able to use unpaved trails. People of all abilities can use trails built to be accessible. So these trails are truly for all of us, friends, family, neighbors who need them now, and everyone who may need them in the future, and all able-bodied people. I urge you to support S446 and H769. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Jeremy Dubbs listed next on my list, and then Lyn Horan and Karen Foster, but you may, again, proceed in any order you like.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Dubbs.
Great.
I'd like to thank you for the, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Oh, great, thank you. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak here today in full support of Accessible Trails for All. My name is Jeremy Dubbs. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta 45 years ago, and for the last 40 years, I've been a wheelchair user. And it was only within the last year, on March 26, 2023, when I experienced my first unpaved trail out in nature with a group of close friends at the Lake Wallace Sensory Trail in Belchertown, and it was life-changing. About a week before, in a group chat where we make plans for social gatherings, one of my friends suggested that we all go to the Lake Wallace Trail. And this alone was a groundbreaking moment in my life as a disabled person who had never before been invited to go hiking. It felt like a whole new world of possibilities was opening up for me. Suddenly I could be part of social gatherings other than just brunches and movie nights. Now I could suddenly find myself exploring the outdoors, out in the woods with my friends. The exclusion that I've experienced so often when friends and family go out together to do things that I can't do, suddenly that feeling was not there. It was a healing moment, And for me, I could feel my high blood pressure go down. I felt calm and I felt included. I thought about how much I would have benefited from unpaved, accessible trails when I was a child growing up with a disability, trying to fit in and trying to find outdoor activities that were fun and healthy for me. I would have gotten more exercise, more time out in the sunshine, and less time indoors feeling bad about myself. It might have made my early adult years easier to deal with, and I'd probably be reaping the benefits now that I'm in my 40s. But I believe in new beginnings, and so I look forward to reaping the benefits of unpaved, accessible trails for my remaining years on this planet. The trails improve not just the lives of disabled people, but also the lives of loved ones who yearn for opportunities to enjoy the outside world with us. These trails have the power to change individuals' lives, as well as the power to bring
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Mr. Dubs, oh, are you back?
I'm back. Sorry.
Terrific.
Did I cut off?
We lost you there for a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
Where did you last hear me?
We can hear you. Yep, go ahead.
But where did you miss the whole thing?
No, just maybe the last, 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. So these trails improve not just the lives of disabled people, but also the lives of loved ones who yearn for opportunities to enjoy the outside world with us. These trails have the power to change individuals' lives, as well as the power to bring friends and family together in ways that were not possible before. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're gonna, again, just keep going through this panel, and then if there are any questions, I'm just gonna ask all of the panelists to hang on with us while we hear all the panelists' testimony, and then we'll take questions at the end. Lyn Horan, are you with us?
Yep.
Terrific.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Great.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you to this committee for the opportunity to speak in support of Bills H151 and S113, an act expanding access to trails for people of all abilities. My name is Lyn Horan, and I'm Vice Chair for Holyoke's Commission on Disabilities. I've been disabled from MS and RA since I was 27 for 38 years, and I now use a power wheelchair. And I'm not alone, as 11.7% of Massachusetts' population is indeed disabled. Since childhood, I have loved being in the outdoors, something I share with my husband, who has been a forest ecologist, coincidentally, working on issues of climate change, urban forestry, conservation, resource management, with both the state and federal government for 46 years. But sadly, there are few activities outdoors that we can do together, mostly because of inaccess. My wheelchair keeps me safer from falls and conserves my energy and breathing. It limits severely, however, my access to trails in many of Massachusetts' most lovely outdoor parks. Being outside engaged in activity is known to increase mental and physical health for all people, and especially for those who are disabled or chronically ill. Yet a very small percentage of Massachusetts trails are indeed accessible for wheelchair users, and those that are often extremely short. But it's not just the disabled that are excluded from using trails. I can't tell you how many times as a mom who's disabled that I have not been able to use trails. But that often also meant my children couldn't use the trails because they needed me there with them. And parents who are already disabled really work hard in their lives not to have resentment from their family members as it is because of their restrictions. I live currently in a wonderfully diverse city of Holyoke, where over 50% of our population are Latino and Latina. The downside of that statistically is if you are not white, you are at much greater risk of becoming disabled. The same statistic holds for our lower income residents as well. So that means my friends and my neighbors also have an inaccess to the beautiful lands of Massachusetts and definitely Holyoke. and they are people who could gain greater mental and physical health benefit from access to our wonderful trails if they were indeed accessible right in here in Holyoke, say at Mount Tom Park. As Vice Chair of the Holyoke Commission on Disability, I want to see all of our residents be able to take part in our beautiful lands of Massachusetts. I urge you all to support these bills, as living in a society that does not acknowledge our existence or treat us with equity is indeed no walk in the park. Thank you so much to the sponsors of this bill, and particularly to Meg Bandarra of Unpaved Trails For All.
Thank you. Karen Foster?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead, please.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time and for holding this hearing. I am the Executive Director of All Out Adventures. We're a Northampton-based nonprofit organization that runs outdoor recreation programs that are inclusive of people who have disabilities and veterans and seniors. And we run our programs all over the state. In fact, I'm on the Ashewilticook Rail Trail out in the Berkshires right now as I speak. And I was thinking about what's so important for you all to hear about the importance of this bill and the importance of unpaved trails for people of all abilities. And I was thinking about the other day, I had a really, really horrible day at work. And I'm not saying that for sympathy, but I'm saying that because I would imagine you can all relate to going home from a horrible day at work. And all I wanted to do was take my dog out for a walk. And so I took my dog out on the trail near my house that goes down past the river. And I could have been on the sidewalk, I could have been on the bike path that's near my house, but I needed to go out into the woods and into the peace and quiet. And that's what I did. And when I was done, I felt so much better. And what an incredible privilege that is, as someone who does not identify as having a disability, to be able to go and do what I need for stress management when I want. And that's exactly the kind of opportunity that needs to be open and available to all residents of Massachusetts. People who have disabilities, or as you heard, are caregiving for people who have disabilities, face structural barriers of living in a world that's not meant for them, whether that's trying to go out to eat, get your hair cut, walk through town, or go out and spend time in nature with your family. And so because of that, we see increased levels of stress and of chronic illness, many of which can help to be managed by time spent outdoors in nature. I can't tell you how often at the programs I run, people show up often with the stress of having tried to get out of the house and manage all of the personal care and drive to a location maybe they've never been to something they're not super positive they can do. And so often people will arrive with stress, and then we take an accessible hike, or we go kayaking, we spend time in nature, and it doesn't take long, 10, 15 minutes, the world turns around and people are smiling, they're content, they feel more connected to each other, to their sense of place, their sense of belonging in this world is all improved from time spent in nature. And the final point I'd like to make is I understand the mechanisms of government. We can move slowly. We need to really carefully consider things. But I think it's really important to know that for many people who have disabilities, there's an urgency to being able to access spaces. Every day of good health and of getting out is a gift. And so I would urge you to recommend this out of committee and move with all due speed so that people who have disabilities can access all that our state has to offer, just like those who do not. Thank you.
Thank you. I will certainly readily acknowledge the emotional benefits, let alone the physical benefits that can come from being outside in the woods. Okay, I believe that is everyone on the panel. Do we have any questions from members?